So recently I've been reviewing the in-progress highlight reel for the Christmas stuff that we were doing at the start of the year. You guys remember we had the subathon that lasted from like the end of last year through Christmas all the way to the beginning of January. And it got me thinking about some stuff because when I was watching it, it's an hour long. It really draws you in when you watch it, and kind of it's almost like a reflection when I watch it. I think to myself like, this feels like it happened way longer than a year ago, just based on the way things have been going. It feels like this fun stuff that we were doing, and like actually enjoying the chat and so forth while I'm streaming. It feels like it was a lifetime ago, and it was really just, not even a year ago, like not even 11 months ago or whatever. And I got me thinking about like why that is, because over the past several months especially, I have not been enjoying streaming at all. I've been very bitter toward my chat and community, and it really got me thinking about like why that is, like how we arrived at this point. And the purpose of this video is not to like apologize or make any promises for the way things have been, because I don't think that's really helpful. I think that's more of a signal of virtue and like asking for attention and validation sort of thing. I don't think that really that kind of stuff means anything, especially these days, because it's thrown around so much, especially on the internet, like with streamers and YouTubers and so forth. But I'm just concerned with, it all starts with me. Like if I'm not enjoying streaming and I feel like my audience doesn't understand me, it's going to cause me to feel these things that, I don't think there's any real reason to feel sorry for myself for being this way for a little while now. I just think it's important to reflect and understand how we got to this point, to hopefully, change course and figure out how to, I guess, like prolong the next point when this happens. Because it's inevitable that like these feelings are going to happen when you're streaming for almost 10 years. And you go through so many different phases and eras with different people in the chat and different attitudes, different generations. I mean, this stream has spanned across, like the late Zoomers to like early Gen Alpha, like just very different people watching the stream and using the chat or not using the chat and so forth. So it really prompted me to reevaluate, what really happened this year for me to arrive at the point where I just hate all of this. Like I just hate everything that I'm doing right now, except for the obvious obligation that I made to speedrunning the game and beating it in under 40 minutes, which we knew was going to be a difficult task. We've had difficult tasks and hard, grinds over the past 9.5 years, but, obviously they just get exponentially harder each year. But that's not to say that this is the reasoning for why I just hate all of this right now. I think it's a little bit deeper than that, and this is what I wanted to kind of get into today, and hopefully a respectable amount of time, because I want people to actually hear it and listen to it and not get bored and go swiping on Instagram after like 5 minutes in. So let's try to unpack this quickly. So at the start of the year, as you guys know, like the subathon a few years ago, the movie one, into the one that was also very fun the year after that in 2023, ended in that disaster of the massive crash out over people just being really obnoxious toward the end, where the entitlement of the begging for people to sub and like, come on, somebody else do it, DMing people about like, can you please give more kind of a thing. I don't want to get too into detail about the past, but that like the way that people were behaving in the second major subathon and like the way I was torturing myself, not sleeping, was it was all terrible. Like all of us were definitely responsible for the ultimate crash and burn that happened in that one. So while the second one that I was doing, the second subathon, I was trying to repair and fix and right the wrongs of the several mistakes that happened with the first one. The second one just added more mistakes to the pile. And the third one that we did, the third major one that we did last year that I mentioned at the beginning of this video was the Christmas special, where we were going to cap it at 12 days to make sure people don't overspend, make sure that it was still fun, that it ends before things get to that point. We were going to do the, we ended up doing the, the reason why I wanted to do this is because, obviously this is a different, political landscape now with speedrunning, but at the time I was planning on making a large donation to GSA, Global Speedrun Association, to help them run their events, and the guy who runs it rejected it. So I said, how else can I help this dying hobby of speedrunning? So that is how the idea of the Christmas special spawned, where every 1,000 subs that I get, I'm going to give 100 subs to a random streamer who's speedrunning something, and it was really fun. It really brought the community together, and it was a nice change of pace from the typical first two major subathons, where they're pretty much the only charitability going on there was paying the people who were helping me run it and so forth. So that was a nice change of pace, and I really enjoyed that. But it also served to help, I think, make me feel like I was capable of running a competent event and not have it crash and burn, and we were having fun the whole time. And my point of raising this context is to show that it wasn't even just the subathon that proved we were capable of this. It was all the stuff that was going on last year. Amidst even one of the best runs I've gotten in years, that 4103, it took almost 9 months to beat. We were still getting really good runs, and we were still frustrated all the time, and I was still getting mad and stuff, but we were still able to balance it with having fun. And I guess that's what led into the subathon and led me into even thinking that we could even do one again. So it wasn't just the subathon at the end of last year and going into the beginning of this year that showed me okay, things are going really well. Things are kind of working again. I'm enjoying streaming. I feel like my community is we're on the same page about the goals and what we're trying to do. So all through last year, ending with that big event, I was feeling that we were on the right track again. This year's a little bit different though. Obviously you guys know that ever since the first subathon, I've been the original plan was to buy real estate, buy a house instead of paying rent and so forth. And then I actually became financially literate and decided that it was better to invest my money instead of buying property and giving my money to the bank in the form of a mortgage for the next 15 so years of my life. My perspective on money management has been enhanced through actually coming into money, thanks to you guys. So I've been invested for a while now, and obviously this year's been a roller coaster for any of you who are involved in finance. And at the start of the year, that plus the major changes that Twitch made recently, downgrading the quality of VODs after 7 days and making us delete our highlights, I was kind of feeling I need to do something drastic to kind of keep this streaming thing going for longer because of the global economic situation, and also the way that these companies just are kind of squeezing everything they can now. And I know it's not just Twitch, you notice it in other places too, that these online services are just becoming more and more greedy. And I don't want to name names or go off topic too much, but you feel it this year especially, that that's kind of the direction the internet's going in now. So I said, okay, I gotta just set aside my pride with the whole Twitch thing and be I know I was always against multi-streaming. I thought it was a terrible idea of siphoning the community, and I just decided to pull the trigger on it, and we've been doing that for a while now. And at first the plan was just to keep the chat closed and only have the Twitch chat open, but after I guess a week or so, maybe a little bit longer, we started having open chat for everything. And the Kick and the YouTube that we added, we had 3 different chats, and I have to respond to all of them. And what I'm getting to here is that I think that some of the mistakes that were made with initiating the multi-stream for my channel have led to me not enjoying streaming as much, and over time that just builds, and there's some other factors that kind of compound onto it, but we'll get into that. So you guys remember that my hands have been, messed up for a while, like especially when I got that sub 41 run. You saw, like, it's not as bad now, but it's actually still kind of bad, but it was a lot worse a week ago, and I'll get into that, like how I've been working on fixing it. But being in pain when you're playing, it's not the kind of thing that makes you really, like in the moment, you like every single day, you're like, oh, I hate this, like it's so terrible, I'm always in pain. It's the kind of thing that you just kind of get used to and you start ignoring after a while, but it just builds on you. So if you're playing like this, like constantly putting pressure on it nonstop for like 10 plus hours a day for like almost a year at this point, it really starts to, like, you don't even realize what it's doing to your mental and physical. Like it really just after a while just gets to you, and you don't even realize what's happening. You're just miserable every day. You just feel depressed. You don't know why you're feeling this way until you start to figure something out that starts to cure it and move it in the opposite direction. As you guys know, I've been, I wouldn't say like extreme dieting for a while, but I started experimenting with extreme dieting 4 years ago when I started having wrist problems. And I don't know how we got to this point, but for the majority of this year, I've been doing like a 21 and 3 fast, which for those of you who don't know what that is, it's not eating for 21 hours and then having a 3-hour feeding window where you actually are allowed to eat. And it wasn't by choice necessarily. Like, I acknowledged that fasting was helping me focus and it was helping my wrists have time to cool down after playing because it like reduces inflammation. But there's something that I discovered recently that I've kind of been putting it into practice, and I realized, like, I think that the fasting has been putting so much stress on my body for doing it for this long that it was causing kind of like an increased like stress reaction in my body that's causing stuff like this to not heal for a long period of time. And of course that's going to affect your mood too, but like, I'm always mad when I'm playing the game. I'm always mad when I'm speedrunning, so it's not that much different, right? But as far as the hands go, that's something physiological that like I just can't, and I still don't know, like it really feels like it's getting better now, but I don't know if it'll ever heal completely. I really just don't know. But, we're trying that now, like spreading the meals out more in a convenient way that allows me to, still be focused when I'm playing the game. I've kind of like figured out like how to divide the fats and carbs like before or after I'm playing to get the most out of what I'm doing and not feel any like kind of like tingling or inflammation. This is what happens when you get older, by the way. Like you past the age of 25, you're just degenerating slowly. So just trying to like keep myself going as long as possible has been a challenge. But like it's all part of a learning experience, which I'm going to title this video like "What I Learned" or something like that. Like just ties into the title of this whole thing. It's just what I've learned this year, and how these like small compromises compound into a bigger thing that really impacts your mental health and your ability to see things clearly. So if you're not physically well, if you're not mentally well, it just changes your entire frame and it makes you hate everything and hate yourself and so forth. So I think that I may be turning a corner with that, hopefully. That'd be nice, but let's go back to the multi-streaming for a second, because we already established that like I'm already physically not having a good time, trying to get this 39 and hopefully do it before next summer to celebrate the 10 years. If at this point, like none of us have really been feeling this stream lately. I know I may be speaking for a lot of people, because I know that there are a lot of people who are still enjoying it, but I've noticed that like, especially since like June, when we had like 1,400, 1,500 people here watching and excited over that sub 41 across all platforms, it's a far cry from that at this point. And it's not the game, it's not me getting mad at the game. That's always been a thing. It's something deeper, and it's not just the physical, it's also just like, I guess we'll just like cut to the chase here. I think that the multi-streaming has really hurt my enjoyment of streaming. And it's not just like multi-streaming in general. It's the fact that I have 3 chats to manage, and like that kind of dynamic has like 3 different communities, and like obviously there's the one that like over the course of 9 years we've built up the culture and people just kind of like behave a certain way. You come to expect it. You know, we all have respect for one another. YouTube and Kick, obviously, we're just starting those, and it leads to a situation where you just kind of have random people talking, and while that's fine, like what I've noticed is that more and more people are using YouTube out of convenience compared to Twitch when it comes to chatting. And it just has this confusing thing where like some people are in some chats some days, and people get like annoyed with like certain people who aren't like up to speed on how things go, and I get annoyed with it. And excuse me, I just ate, but not to say it's an issue, but I have noticed that, because there's nothing inherently wrong with this, obviously. I've noticed that the YouTube chat tends to be a lot younger as well. And like, not that that's like an issue. Like, I don't, obviously as a streamer you gotta like bring like newer people in to keep your stream going and so forth. But I feel like that was like the age gap was like a much more like tolerable thing when I was like 19 and there were like 15-year-olds watching. Like, that's like much more understandable for like people like chatting. Like, you have more in common as a 19-year-old with a 15-year-old on the internet just chatting in your public Twitch chat. But like, I don't know, a lot of people who watch me, like, we all grew up with this 22-year-old game. A lot of my viewers are older than I am at this point. Like, we're all like over 30, a little under 30, like mid 20s. It's just not really like something that I prefer. Just having like a younger audience talking in my stream. I know that like some content, or I hate the word content, but some streamers, content creators, because there's a difference. They love when younger people are in their chat, because it means like they have like a longer runway to stream, and like I get that. Like, I totally get like why that'd be considered a good thing in most cases, but yeah, I don't know. It's just this community's always been like tight knit. Like, people have always been like chatty and interactive with one another. It's just it doesn't feel right. I don't know. I'm okay with it, but I definitely prefer the environment of like people who I can relate to more, like mid-20s. Not that age is the only factor here, but you tend to find that people who have fully developed brains tend to use the internet differently than those who don't. And that kind of also plays into like, some of the more annoying parts of the YouTube chat where like people who aren't wanted, like the ones who try to stir up trouble, they just make more and more accounts to like make it seem like there's like this big uproar of like these little like complaints and talking points people have about me playing the same game or like whatever. Like these like little complaints are so much smaller than they actually are. It's actually just a very confined, tiny group of people who just have a lot of time on their hands to do this all day. And with YouTube, it's a lot harder for people to moderate that because the tools are worse. But on Twitch, like, it's very difficult. You had to go through a lot of hoops to make a lot of alt accounts to be able to do that. And then on top of that, like, if all the moderators are spread out to different chats, it's harder for them to catch it or even like know what has to be deleted because the culture is different in all 3 chats. I just think it's like, this is something that's been impacting my enjoyment of streaming. I think it's been impacting, by extension, the enjoyment of my viewers. And I guess the elephant in the room is like, you probably might be wondering, like, why do I even care about all this? I've been very clear that, at this point, I just focus on the game. I really want to just focus on getting better at the game because this 39 is the most important thing to me, right? Well, I've kind of realized over the last month, especially, like, trying to like dial back and let myself heal a little bit. You probably noticed that my streaming times have been a bit sporadic. They haven't been consistent. I've still been playing a lot. I've still been improving. I'm still getting, like, compared to a month ago, I'm so much better at the first half of this game. It's not even close. Like, all we got to really do is clean up SBA and keep practicing the other crap that's been ruining runs later in the game. But, yeah, you probably noticed that I haven't been as consistent with the streaming obviously. And that I think it's a necessary thing every once in a while to kind of figure out where you're at, which is what this whole point of this video is anyway. I've kind of realized that, I feel like I've realized this many times throughout my time streaming, but you tend to forget things, like I said with the whole injury thing. Like, you tend to get used to the way things are, and you forget about the lessons you've learned, and hopefully each time we learn these lessons, we can come closer to it becoming more part of our general principles, and hopefully we don't make the same mistakes too often, right? But I've realized that a lot of the fulfillment that I feel in speedrunning and the chase of trying to improve in something and master something, just the mastery of a skill and a craft that people find interesting at the very least, a lot of it is tied to the enjoyment of the viewers watching it. And I don't think that the kind of dynamic where I'm really bitter toward everything because I'm not enjoying streaming and, like picking random times to stream, like there has to be some kind of a balance where the viewers can enjoy it while I'm also always ready to go and able to play for like 10 hours at a time without getting tired or losing focus, which is a difficult thing to set up for every single day. And yeah, I really run myself into the ground this year, but it's forced me to really reconsider a lot of things. So I'm already taking up a lot of your time at this point, but I guess what I'm getting to is I'm trying to make changes to start enjoying this again, and hopefully that my enjoyment of it, hopefully like bringing the community back to the center square where it was at the start of the year when we were enjoying things, when we were, literally spreading cheer across the speedrunning community with the Christmas stuff and all that. Hopefully we can get back to that at some point. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not saying like tonight when I start streaming, we're gonna be playing movie with the text to speech and stuff. Like, I'm open to all that, but I don't think that it's the kind of thing that has to be overnight. I just wanted to make this to let you know that I've been reflecting on all this, and I want to start enjoying streaming again, and I want to feel like this online community is having a good time, because we're trying to ultimately keep these games alive at the end of the day. And like part of me doesn't feel whole when I'm abandoning responsibilities in life. It happens with like personal relationships, it happens with like errands, chores, stuff like that. Like when I'm feeling like I'm not when I'm feeling like I'm not fulfilling my duties in life, which of course, like, leading this community has become part of my duty, it makes me play worse. It makes me play the game worse. And like, even if my whole goal, my whole focus right now is just playing the game well and trying to get this sub 40, which is the most important thing in the world right now to me, like, even if that's the case, it's still not being done as well as I can do it if I'm not, being responsible with my other obligations. So clearly there's a balance to be had. We realized this at some point. We knew it at some point. It's just that as time goes on, you kind of just forget. You don't. It's like I said, it's like the hand injuries. Like it's hard to keep a straight head for a very long period of time when day in, day out, you're doing the exact same thing, which is unfortunately a necessary part of this project, is building that consistency to get this run that might not even be humanly feasible for a while. I feel like I can do it, but obviously we know that a lot of the time we overestimate ourselves in the short term. But if we work hard, maybe something will happen someday. And that kind of like uncertainty and unknown just kind of compounds on the unknown and uncertainty of this community and like where this is going and like how I feel about it. But I think that the easiest thing that I can do for us right now is take steps to kind of like reframe my view on streaming. So yeah, it has nothing to do with the YouTube chat being naughty or anything like that. It's not a punishment. I just feel like it's best for now to keep everything in one chat. And maybe we'll try the other chats at some point again. Maybe for certain things. Because another thing too is with having 3 chats, it kind of forces me to be at the center of conversation, like facilitating conversations, which I don't find it difficult to respond to one-off messages while I'm speedrunning. But carrying conversation and mentally having that consume me, like being the centered piece of a conversation and trying to facilitate that amongst all these parties, it's almost impossible to focus on the game to the degree that I need to focus on it at this point to play perfectly, which is basically the expectation at this point. To get a 39, you got to play pretty much perfectly. Obviously, no 3D platformer run can be perfect, but like no mistakes, like every 2-second mistake just feels like you're getting shot, you know, like that kind of thing. You just can't be like that in 2025, you know, trying to get a 39. You can't do that. So just know that I'm always trying to rebalance the scales and figure out how to continue improving as this run gets exponentially more difficult every year. And streaming and keeping these games interesting, I know it's just a common talking point, but people's attention spans are lower. There's so much more entertainment out there to just get hooked on and swipe through if you get bored of watching speedrun attempts and the resets that keep getting more and more aggressive every year. Like, I get it. Everything's just getting harder. But, you know, I just want to let you know I'm here for it. I'm open to trying, like, we tried all this multi-streaming stuff. I'm still going to stream on YouTube and Kick. I think that the Kick option is good for people who don't have subs and they don't want to watch with ads, if the ads are just too aggressive and annoying. We have to run a minimum of like 3 minutes an hour of ads per like stream, or you know what I mean. Like 3 minutes of ads per hour is the minimum on Twitch, so you don't get flashbanged with the 30-second ad every single time you click on the stream. And then YouTube is just there for your convenience, and like the notifications are more consistent. Like the multi-streaming is good, but we gotta just have it in one chat for a while. It's gonna be members only for the YouTube chat and sub only for the Kick chat. Just because I don't, like, I'm okay with people talking there, but I want the majority of the conversation to be in the Twitch chat. So, I guess I don't want to repeat myself too much. You guys kind of get where I'm going with this. Is that I want to enjoy streaming again. I want to feel the same fulfillment that I felt streaming not even a year ago. But with the balance in mind that, like, this challenge I'm trying to achieve, this 10-year-long build-up to a milestone that, you know, sub 60, sub 50, and now sub 40 is, you understand the weight of this is the most important thing in the world to me right now. And, you know, I know that, like, my hardcore fans, like the real fans who have been around forever, they understand this, and, you know, they're not, like, needy for my attention every 2 seconds, and they want to see this run more than anything, too. So, yeah, if I'm quiet most of the time, I'm focusing, I'm trying to, you know, to some extent, keep my emotions controlled, but not to the point where it gets so unbearable that I get depressed over it, because I have to let it out sometimes if I want to actually focus for the rest of the stream. Holding that inside of you just destroys you. And it's hard to focus for 10 plus hours, just like pretending like everything's okay, you know? Like sometimes I gotta get up and stand up for a bit. Sometimes I gotta let it out. But, you know, I know that, like, again, the fans know this, but obviously there are more than just my fans watching, like more casual viewers, some hate watchers, as always. I'm not speaking to them, but to the average person who's not too ingrained into this community yet, like, just know that when you're coming into my chat saying things like, is he okay? He doesn't smile anymore, and things like that, like, you're not going to be helping anything if you're being genuine. All you're really doing is coming off as concern trolling. And, like, concern trolling is when you're basically just, like, passive aggressively, like, harassing a streamer to try and like bait a reaction of like I'm concerned for your health, but like I'm just saying it to like bother you or like bother people and like get you to like respond to it, like constantly be like, I'm fine. Like, it's always been this way. Like, I know that we look at the highlight reels and we watch like the highlights of these eras where like it's like they have like 2019, for example. It's like a month or two of like probably like 500 plus hours of streaming, and you get like a 10-minute reel, 10 minutes of like the little funny one-off moments, and people tend to like look at those highlight reels and like expand it to thinking that like, oh, every streamer's like this. He was like this all the time for 10 hours a day. He was always on crack cocaine talking about diapers. Like, it wasn't like that. It was never like that. It was always like very infrequent highlight reels of like the few funny things that would occasionally happen amidst the hell that is playing this game. And obviously, like, it just gets harder every year. And like, there have been eras when I mentioned 2019 when it was easier than it usually is year after year. But it's important to remember context, and you know, like most people, nostalgia is powerful. When you look back on things, you kind of remember the good stuff mostly. It's how we survive. It's how we as humans can survive and move forward, is that we look back at things nostalgically, and like, you don't remember the bad stuff, you only remember the good stuff. But I was blowing a fuse to the Goo Cage clip in 2018 all the same as I'm freaking out at all the one frames that we're doing now. So it's important to remember that with context. Like, we've always managed to bring it back and have fun at times on the stream, but what you're ultimately watching and what I've been doing for the last 9.5 years is working on a project, and this is the most important thing to me. And I know that the fans don't need to hear this, they already know. But I know that my channel's been getting a lot more attention lately because of the YouTube expansion, like doing the shorts, you know, doing the multi-streaming and so forth. It's an exciting time for this game right now. People have been paying attention. I just want people to understand that, like, this isn't content to me. I'm not getting on my stream with the focus of entertaining you. And I think that's for the best, is because if I am getting on for the focus of giving people attention and so forth, like, constantly, I think it just signals to not just the viewers, but also to myself that the game doesn't matter. And that's just not the case. It matters more than anything. I think that most people who appreciate what we're doing here would say that that's the most important thing, is that I'm trying. Because if I'm not trying and I'm not enjoying it, what's the point? Because like, speedrunning at this level is not enjoyable. It's just not. So if you don't enjoy it and you're also not trying, then why still do it? So we got to at least try, because I want to improve regardless. I want to get better at the game. I want to get this 39, bare minimum. We got to do that before summer next year. If you want to plan on doing anything else in celebration of said accomplishment, that may or may not happen, but we'll see. Yeah, just trying to be real thorough here to help people understand, like, it'll be easier when there's one chat, because things will hopefully just kind of go back to the way they used to be slowly. The past couple of days of doing the single chat has definitely made me a lot, I've enjoyed it a lot more, I guess. Like, it feels like home again. Like, I feel like I've been away from home for a long time. And not to mention my chat reader. I have a chat reader that combines all the chats now. And the one that I was using up until a couple of days ago was very, very poor. It was hard to read things. I couldn't type things in chat. It didn't show the channel point redemptions, like the happy birthday stuff. It wasn't showing that. And every several minutes, it would just roll back the entire chat. Like, it would just, like, refresh and, like, roll itself back, and, like, I'd miss messages and stuff, and yeah, it was just awful. And but we're back with the tool that I was using at the beginning of the year. The reason why I stopped using it is because it didn't have kick support. Now it does. So it's I think that with the improved tools that I have for managing the chat now and reading the chat, having most of the conversation in the Twitch chat again, like it was, like what made the stream fun in the first place for people, I think that we have a good foundation now to actually enjoy streaming again. And hopefully, some months from now, we'll look back on this and say, yeah, like, it was just a learning experience, doing the whole multi-streaming thing. It's just very different, and yeah, I don't regret trying it. We're still gonna do it, but it's got to be done a little differently. So, for those of you who are on YouTube and Kick, if you want to come over and watch on Twitch, that's cool. If you don't, I totally understand it. But I would just say give it a try. I wouldn't doubt that some of you get banned immediately if you don't if you don't know like how to play it, how to talk and stuff. You know, it's fine. Just appeal for an unban. If you're genuine and you appeal for it, like, you'll probably just get unbanned. Don't make it your entire personality getting revenge on the streamer because you got banned from an online chat room. We already got too many of those surrounding this community at this point. But yeah, that's all I've got. The new SpongeBob game has cruise boosting in it. Yes, it does. Probably not what you expected to hear at the end of this if you haven't been following my recent stuff, but it does have cruise boosting. And I'm still sticking to my guns on saying that I'm not going to be speedrunning it this time around, at least not right now. There will be DLC for it. Maybe we'll do stuff with that in the future as well. But we will be playing it on stream. I already asked Martin for a review copy. He should be getting that back to me soon. And when the embargo is lifted on streaming it, we'll be doing that. And I'm thinking like last year when I think about how I got the 4103, and we were practicing Incredibles for the charity event. Remember the speedrun charity event where we did the no-hit of Incredibles after, and every time I took a hit, I gave like $200 to charity or something like that. Well, yeah, I was thinking that in spite of doing all that at the end of every stream, I was still able to play well, and I was still able to, get that run, that 4103. That was one of the best runs I've gotten in a very long time. So I think we can manage to integrate the new SpongeBob game into my schedule as long as I'm not speedrunning it. Because, as you guys know, or I guess like maybe you guys actually don't know. So I'll try to explain it in simple terms. The speedrun mindset for a game that has been optimized for over a decade, of which I have more than 20,000 hours invested, is a lot different than the mindset of optimizing a game that is brand new. There are constantly strats being found, and your movement doesn't really matter. Like, the strats you're even learning every day don't matter, because by the time you finish a run of the game, there are going to be new strats that you haven't learned, and they save over a minute, and like there's no point. Like, it's just a very like I don't think that nihilistic is the right word for it, but it definitely gets you to not really care about what you're doing when you're playing a new game. Like, you don't take it as seriously when you're speedrunning a new game. You're just kind of getting world records every other day. They don't mean anything. It's just basically just like fun. It's like being on vacation. And to the people who plan on playing the game long term, I salute you. It's going to be real fun, I'm sure. There are going to be a lot of cool strats with the cruise boosting and the floating stuff they already have. Like, we needed another floating glitch in a SpongeBob game. Like, every other game doesn't already have that. But, they're going to have fun. They're going to make the game cool. And for those who plan on sticking with it long term, I really hope that I can do what I can to help bring more attention to it as usual. But this time without actually doing speed runs of it. Because, like I said, it messes with my mentality of, like, you literally cannot afford to ever make any mistake, even if it's by 1 frame, in Battle for Bikini Bottom if you're trying to get a 39. And that's just a very different mentality of mastering the same monotonous thing every single day and always being perfect, versus, like, the game is new and shiny and fun and hey, dopamine, and we're learning new strats every 5 minutes, and like, the world record was 10 minutes slower yesterday. Like, it's just so different. And I've spent so much time building up this mentality to get this run that feels like it's almost impossible. And yeah, we learned our lesson last year with all the distractions and all the fun we had after getting that 4103, thinking like, it'll happen soon. Oh, we're right there, 4 seconds, and then 8.5 months later. It still hasn't happened yet. Obviously, a big part of that was the controllers constantly breaking on themselves and the hand issues, but you don't know what kind of twists and turns life is going to take, and you gotta take it seriously. Otherwise, you'll get eaten alive. And that's what I've learned, just to tie it all together. So, best off, start living today as if we're going to die tomorrow. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to doing good stuff. And if you're still fatigued from the speed running, I know that like the sub 41 grind was huge, and we're still a ways away from getting close to 39. If you're still fatigued, at least hope to see you on the day when we stream the new game. There'll be an announcement on this channel when, like, on the day and time we're gonna stream it. That's all I've got, pretty much. And maybe we'll do like a no hit or something of like a fun thing, fun activity at the beginning or end of streams occasionally when with the new game, just to scratch that itch for the people who are really looking forward to that 2.5-year cycle of the new Purple Lamp games, which I can't even still believe that we have that at this point. A battle for Bikini Bottom follow-up every 2.5 years is crazy. The documentary on this is going to go crazy when I get that sub 40, but just poor timing, unfortunately. The game came out in the middle of this grind, but to be fair, the way things are going, if it came out in like February or something, still probably be saying the same thing. We just got to roll with the punches and fulfill our minor obligations to focus harder on the thing that is truly at the top of the list. So, without taking up any more of your time, that's that. And I'll see you around. Just want you to know that I'm doing okay. My personal life's been going well. And I want to start enjoying streaming again as much as I've been enjoying life. So, yeah, thanks. And I'll see you around.